I've always said that the DeFi side of the XRP system is very weak. Again, I'm not biased when it comes to XRP. According to the XRP ledger, DeFi is only worth 70, which is almost $8 million. If we were talking about an altcoin with a market cap of more than $100 billion, you'd think that the network underneath it would have a lot more value in terms of TVL, but it doesn't. It's crazy that we have more than $300 million in stablecoins, but only $77.6 million in DeFi. It's been interesting to see how more and more protocols are added to the XRP system. Most of these are RWAs. For example, Open Eden has 172 million, which isn't really that many, but I don't keep track of this too often because it's mostly RWAs. When it comes to real DeFi, TVL is linked to the real DeFi standards. To give you an example, Doppler Finance does have more than $89 million. If you look at this though, they are not part of Chain TVL because this is DeFi, but we're still less than $1 billion in TVL, even if we keep track of everything. It seems like the DeFi market should have a lot more value tied to it. Is this going to get better now? Yes, I think it will. But remember that when the XRP record first came out in 2012, it had a built-in DEX. It was the first blockchain to have a DEX that was native to the blockchain. I mean, we don't even have a billion TVL. 13 years later, it's still shocking. But we're going after establishment DeFi, which is one of the most important things about DeFi. The next step in institutional DeFi is to make sure that credit rules are followed and that information is kept private. This goes all the way back to September of this year when Ripple fully explained it. We've already talked about the main points, right? These are some of the most important points. Here, the native lending protocol is the main thing we're working on and the major thing we want to launch on the XRP ledger. I think that will be a big hit and bring in a lot of TVL. XRP is also seeing a few new things start up on the ledger that are built on the DeFi market. Yes, Z, KPS, and other similar things. Wonderful. Besides formal DeFi though, I'm mostly interested in things that will also let regular people use them. Take the lending procedure as an example. One of the most important ones I've always paid attention to is the lending process, since it will be so useful for regular people. We already know that the AMM has worked very well, and it still does. I think the same thing will happen with the lending process as well. On top of that, MPTs and other similar things are backing and strengthening what's already there around the XRP ledger. The XRP ledger already has a lot of value tied to it through tokenized RWAs and even stablecoins. Both of those are supported by MPTS because, as we already said, stablecoins are needed for anything that is tokenized. As well, MPTS help RWAS. That is for sure a big one. After that, we look at the permit DEX as well. Let's talk about the permission DEX. The main reason I'm interested in them is that they help with large-scale business projects like the FX market. Here is where some of the biggest markets that can be sold on chain start to open up. I am very interested in what will happen next. Now, the most important thing for the XRP record for DeFi is for big players to start using it. This is because, as we said before, it's one of the first blockchains with DEX built in. It's one of the first blockchains that can handle large-scale payments and tokenization. That being the case, why wouldn't those big use cases and lots of value hit the network? That's what we should do. Now, this was also talked about in a recent Ripple statement from November 5th. This is that $500 million smart investment. Another part of the statement that a lot of people missed was this last part with Ripple Prime. We can see that Ripple Prime is now offering collateralized loans for XRP and helping a group of institutions that trade XRP-based goods that is growing very quickly. The lending system is going to be very important for this. As we can see from the fact that Ripple Prime is now offering collateralized loans for XRP, this helps those big institutional players who trade goods based on XRP. At the moment, Ripple Prime was called Hidden Road. It is linked to by 300 top big players. We are putting all of our attention on this. I believe this will be a very important event for both XRP and the XRP ledger. Now, let's talk about some things going on in DeFi that will help the next big wave of capital coming into the XRP ledger, which is Midas. So they just added more XRP products that pay out. This is MXRP to BNB chain through a lease to DAO integration. This gives about 480,000 BNB chain XRP holders access to more DeFi earning possibilities. A big deal. We also have the statement from Axler, who are the main people who back MXRP. People who own XRP on the BNB chain now have a new way to make money. MMXRRP is now live on lease to DAO. It is the first XRP staking coin that can be used in real life. You can earn up to 10% APY with clear yield strategies that are driven by Midas and Axler. This makes me very happy. This seems great to me. And once more, this has already been a huge success. We also talked about the numbers. Again, this is just more support for the XRP DeFi side of the market. There are more opportunities for interoperability through DeFi and DeFi projects that make yield. Really looking forward to this one. Then, of course, Evernorth, right? We talked a bit about Evernorth not long ago. They want to start in the fourth quarter of 2026, and they have raised more than $1 billion to help with this. All of this is done to speed up and increase the use of XRP. And the best thing about it is that it's ready for use in institutions. Let's go back to what's going on here. Ripple has been fully committed to enterprise DeFi on the XRP ledger for well over a year now. There are also big changes happening around the XRP ledger through DeFi. Another big change is happening with Evernorth, a company backed by Ripple that wants to raise $1 billion to support its XRP treasury and make the biggest institutional XRP vehicle yet. This is also meant to get more people to use XRP, and I think that's how big players are involved. We could see Evernorth in this picture that Anderson shared on X about how all of this works. So we thought the start would happen in the first quarter of 2026. The list is here. We have all of that broken down for leadership and government too, with some of Ripple's biggest names and some other names as well. The plan is at the very bottom in the left corner. So hold on to XRP as a reserve asset for institutional lending, liquidity provisioning, DeFi yield possibilities, and as a long-term push for the XRP ledger to become widely used and accepted by institutions. Then there are investors, a lot of great investors. We already talked about them. One of them is SBI. This one is called Ripple, as well as Chris Larsson. On the other hand, the XRP environment is getting better. As a result, we have XRP validators that are working, DeFi that uses XRP as security, and the growth of the RLUSD market. These things provide liquidity and let people use XRP products for payments, capital markets, and tokenized assets. This is how some of these expansions fit into the bigger story. All of them back not only enterprise-grade DeFi, but also DeFi itself. Some of these things are really making me happy. Evernorth is a big one for sure. Also, what about Flare, okay? Because Flare is also growing. This is from Alton Tatter, and it's over here. The XRP Flare account is the name of the first on-chain vault we built for XRP on Flare. There is a real need for XRP DeFi, and it will only grow from here on out. Let me tell you the truth. I think that all of these players play well. I only have the Flare I got through an airdrop. It's probably worthless now, since I think it was worth about 60 cents when I got it. But here is Hugo, who helped start Flare. He lays out their plan for getting to the next part of XRP DEFI.